I'm going to go through some of the most popular reasons why people think they shouldn't invest. A lot of these reasons people have said to me online, and some of them might be legit, but the majority of them are just a bit uneducated or just plain silly when you actually break it down. This video is going to be part 1. I'll release part 2 in 2 weeks' time. Let's start off with the uneducated reasons. Number 1, I don't want to invest because the stock market can crash and I'm going to lose all my money. Okay, fair enough. Usually when someone says this, they might know about somebody who lost a lot of money. Perhaps they themselves have lost some money, or they've seen some alarming news headlines talking about how much money you can lose in a stock market crash. But what everybody conveniently misses is the fact that if you invested into the S&P 500, which is the market, in any given 20-year period throughout its almost 100-year history, you would have not lost money had you just held on and you kept on investing your usual sum of money. But giving this valuable piece of information would not get as many clicks, it wouldn't get as many eyeballs, therefore nobody talks about this fact. Everybody talks about how bad it is when the stock market crashes. The fact is, yes, it does crash and it is to be expected, but time in the market is so much more important than timing the market. Number 2, I have to research a lot and I don't have too much time, therefore I'm not going to invest. Now, this is a common misconception. Unfortunately, Wall Street has convinced people that they need to spend hours and hours researching the stock market, tracking the graphs, doing all these different charting tools and whatnot, but this is simply not true. There are many different ways to invest, ways that don't involve constant monitoring and constant research. There is something called passive investing, where you invest regularly and passively into market tracking ETFs without paying too much attention into what's happening in the market. And because of that, the returns you'll be getting will be just market returns, no more, no less. For most people, this is the more sane way of investing for the average person, because not every single person can be out there watching the market charts every single day, every single hour. Number 3, I don't want to invest because it's too risky. Yeah, it sure is, but you have to decide what risks are worth taking on. For example, when you leave the house, you get into your car and drive to work, you're taking on the risk of potentially being in a fatal car accident every single day, but you take that risk anyway because the potential reward is much more important. Similarly, investing involves risk, but if you have a clear strategy, the benefits certainly outweigh the risk, and therefore it's worth taking. Remember, life is all about risk. You get to choose what risks you want to take on. By not investing, you're risking your money sitting in your bank account being devalued every day because of inflation. This year, inflation has been at historic highs around the world. It doesn't look like it's going to be going down anytime soon. So if you don't invest, you are risking that devaluation every single day. Sure, putting it in savings is much more safer and less riskier, but you do risk on missing out on those long-term gains. So don't be put off by taking on risk. Risk is everywhere. Have a good strategy and good risk management, and that is key. Number 4, I don't want to invest because inflation will eat away my returns. If you invest X amount of money, in 40 years you'll have X amount of millions in the bank account. People usually make videos like this online. There are so many of them. And then there will always be a comment saying something like, in 40 years time, $2 million will not be $2 million now. It'll be more like $1 million because of inflation. And comments like that get so much support that it just undermines the actual message. Of course, inflation is everywhere. Therefore, it is in your best interest to invest. Yes, inflation will eat away some portion of your returns, but imagine how much it would eat away if you didn't invest at all. Therefore, these types of comments never really made much sense to me. Number 5, investing is gambling, therefore I don't want to invest. This is usually said by people that try to day trade and lost, or people that are on the outside looking in and they think that investing is the same as trading and it's all about luck and it's all about chance. That one day stocks go up, the other day they go down, and it's all just luck, there's nothing to it. And they think it's all a game of luck and chance. That is simply not true. The stock market is made up of companies that are actual businesses that have, customers, employees, shareholders. If you study these businesses, if you study, the industry they're in, what they're trying to target, their financials, their fundamentals, even their technicals, the game of investing becomes more about skill than anything else. It is not about chance once you really study into it and look into what the business is actually trying to do. If you look at the greatest investors of our time, Charlie Munger and Warren Buffett, they've got an amazing skill set on how to analyze companies, and they've been able to maintain their track record for literally decades, right? So it is more about skill than anything else. And yes, luck does come into it. Let's talk about that too. but it's certainly not the same as gambling. Number 6, I'll start investing when I'm making more money, or investing is only for the rich, or any other variant of that excuse. Once again, it is uneducated to think like this, and I'm not saying that in a bad way. The finance world has literally created so many jargons, and they've made things seem extremely complicated to the point where the average person just doesn't think that it's for them to invest. They think that they need to already have a lot of money to get started, and that's simply not true. And I can fully understand why a person might think that way. But nowadays, it's easier than ever. Micro investing apps exist that allow you to invest with as little as $5. Investing has really become democratized, and waiting until you have lots of money is simply not required anymore. It's not just for rich people, and you can get started and take advantage of those precious early compounding years. Jumping into the lazy reasons, number 7, I'm not going to invest because it's just too hard. Yeah, maybe it is at the start, but you get to decide what type of hard you want. Working for 40 years and then retiring can be hard. Learning how to invest for the first time and taking on some level of risk can also be hard. You decide what hard you want to face. I would suggest taking it bit by bit and learning slowly at your own pace. There's no need to rush it. It is a lot to take in, but take it very slow. I promise you it won't seem that hard afterwards. Don't be put off by all this jargon. It is quite simple once you really look into it. Speaking of looking into it, reason number 8, I'll look into it. Okay, if somebody tells you they're gonna look into it, they're not gonna look into it, okay? It's as simple as that. People often say that just to get others off their back, but 9 times out of 10, if somebody tells you they're looking into it, they're not looking into it. And if you're that person who says they're looking into it, please make sure you actually do it. Don't just say that. Deep down inside, I'm sure you know that investing is important. Therefore, when you do say that, make sure you actually do it and actually look into it when you have some time, because it is extremely important. It'll serve you well, I promise. Number 9, I'm not going to invest because I don't know what to buy. Fair enough, any beginner wouldn't really know what to buy in the stock market, but I'll still put this reason in the lazy category, because most people who say this really just want everything to be spoon-fed to them. And when it comes to investing, I really don't think this is the way, because if you just follow what others are telling you without doing any of your own research and any of your own understanding, you're just going to panic when things don't go your way. For example, with this year, with the market sell-off that we're seeing, if you didn't understand why you bought something in the first place, then you're going to be in a bad place right now mentally. What I'd suggest is looking into the top finance books, the top podcasts, to see what's out there in the realm of finance that you can buy. Take the proactive approach and don't be told what to do. Look into what people are saying, understand it, and then go from there. Because most everyday normal people won't tell you to invest. People just don't do that. You have to go out there and you have to seek it yourself, unfortunately. Number 10, which bank gives 7% return? I used to get so many comments like this whenever I would talk about the average returns of the stock market, and it would annoy me quite a bit. Because let's be honest, this is just lazy. Obviously, there is no bank out there that is giving 7% return on your savings. This just takes a simple Google search. You can literally go to Google and type in which investment gives 7% return, go through the top 10 results, read about it, and go from there, and that'll give you an idea of what I'm actually talking about. Obviously, no bank will give you that much. I think people are just automatically wired to think about safe, familiar options like banks. Therefore, they just think about banks and don't bother to do any additional research on top of that. Because you don't know what you don't know, and if you're not going to seek it out, then you're just going to be, living in the unknown. I also think it is a bit lazy to ask this question when you've got a phone in front of you that can give you literally answers to everything. So that was it for part 1. Part 2 will be released in 2 weeks' time. If you enjoyed this video, check out this playlist right here, which talks about how to invest in the stock market as a beginner. And guys, thank you for being here. I'll see you in the next one. Bye now. Take the proactive approach and don't take the proactive